This is a pretty provocative leak. Does this suggest that the government's thinking on Prevent is shifting?
Well, I think it is possibly so. We've had a number of terror offences in the last few years. You know, we had Ali Harbour Ali with the murder of Sir David Amos, Usman Khan, Raira, Sardallah and many others. One of the striking things that came out after that was the fact that many of those people were known to Prevent, and we heard the usual statements from officials saying that it's been a missed opportunity and lessons learned. But there has been a worry. The threat of Islamist extremism and terrorism has not been taken as seriously as it should. So, for example, far-right extremism, rightly so, as the leaked report mentions, has in the last couple of years overtaken when it comes to referrals to Prevent. But the reality is, when we look at those that have been convicted in prison, more than 70% of those individuals are convicted for terror-related offences are related to Islamist extremism. So we know that when it comes to the evidence, it actually is Islamist extremism that is far a greater threat. That is not to deny the fact that far-right extremism is a threat, but as has been rightfully mentioned in the leaked report, there's been a widening definition of far-right extremism, when we're looking at Islamist extremism, there's been a lot of fear and a narrowness when we actually look at it.
That's an interesting distinction. Of course, I suppose we do need to point out that there have been terrorist incidents in this country and in other countries of far-right terrorism, but I suppose those numbers are just very different by comparison. Let's bring in Sam Armstrong now. I know you've written about Prevent on a number of occasions. This is a programme that has come under criticism from, quite frankly, both ends of the political spectrum. Is it fit for purpose?
Well, the programme at its roots is a goodish idea. That is to say that there are certain activities that aren't criminal that people are doing that the state should. That's a warning sign that someone is going to be drawn into terrorism. The trouble is there are. On one hand, you've got a problem that there are legitimate activities that shouldn't really be being policed by the state, unpopular fringe opinions. And I think people on all sides of the spectrum say, hang on, no, some of what here is being policed shouldn't be being policed. This is an ordinary Islamist, albeit very conservative view on one side or very right-wing view on the other hand, but it's not real terrorism. And then on the other side, you've got limited resources to spend on a huge problem, which is, there are 30,000 people on an MI5 watch list of one form or another. They have not got the resources to be tracking down, working on all of those cases. So if you are spending resources on anyone and they are not the people who are most likely to be going on to commit terrorism, you are having to take resources away from people who very easily could be. And that's really dangerous because you get cases like Ali Harbi Ali, who was sort of partly on the programme, partly not, didn't quite make the threshold, who then go on to commit abhorrent terrorist atrocities.
I suppose there is an issue here, Inaya, of freedom of expression, freedom of speech, the government sort of keeping